My name is Grimshaw. I am a co-founder of the lakota.aicode.camp, and I'm Chichangu Lakota. I grew up on the reservation, so that is where I went up until high school, and then I ended up going to MIT for college, and I got my bachelor's and master's degrees there in business analytics. So I'm part of a small consultancy out of California called Ode, where we help people really bring their environmentally related data to life. Most recently, we've been doing a lot of work with oceans, which has been really interesting because I haven't really worked with oceans a whole bunch. But my personal role in all of that is to work with the data, do a lot of prototyping. We have web developers who kind of make it happen at the end, but I get to sit there at the beginning and ask good questions about what the data says, what it can't say, and what kind of emotions we might want people to feel from that data, what story we want to tell. This year is our biggest year so far. We have 15, up from 7 2 years ago. So I'm looking forward to that growth, but I'm also looking forward to maybe the adjustments that we need to make to figure out how to effectively teach those 15. I'm jealous of teachers because I think they get to experience this more, which is this feeling of like watching a student struggle with something and then finally get the thing. That is a feeling that I think everyone should feel because it's such a wonderful feeling. And so for me personally, what the lakota.aicode.camp has done for me is gave me those feelings of just making sure of understanding what it means for like a student to struggle and really get it and to be so happy that they got it and to watch learning happen, and it's just fantastic. Code Camp is a near full-time job, probably more so than a full-time job. So that's what's a challenge. We have great people who handle like the logistics and everything else. So my job is really easy. I get to come in and just teach for a week and then sort of TA the rest of the time. Mm-hmm. So I don't find my job too challenging, especially because we did a ton of prep going into it. I think it's obvious to point at computers and rockets and satellites and all those things, but I think sanitation is important technology, but I also think even simpler things like stories as important technology. Anything that allows us to transmit and maintain information over time, I think those are some of the most important technologies. And that's why I would put stories up there with pen and paper and books, and now hard drives and things that allow us to store information and transmit information. My ancestors did not have any concept of what an AI would look like, or even computers, or what have you. And so what we're trying to do all the time is to figure out how we can use these new tools in a way that is still Lakota, right? It still honors that memory and those ways of life. But there's plenty of technology that Lakota use, right? We live up in the north for the most part, Nebraska north essentially, up into Canada. And so obviously you get into very cold months, very harsh winters, and a lot of that technology at the time was focused around survival, making better TP, sure, but even down to better tanning methods, right? I had this funny story from a good friend of mine. He said that you learned technology and you kept it close to your family. Why? Because you wanted people to want to marry you. And I was like, that's awesome. He's like, if you learn a better way to tan a hide, you better be sure you're not telling everybody that. You need to keep that so that when the next person comes up to be married, they're at least looking at your family. So I thought that was funny. I guess in some ways things change, but in some ways things stay the same. Broadly speaking, we see AI used in a few ways in Indian country. The first being sort of environmental conservation. The methods, especially with satellite imagery and things, are super useful for lots of conservation sort of tasks. We also see work in language preservation. And that's becoming more and more and more prevalent with the explosion of things like ChatGPT and the models that it's built on, so large language models. But we know that those don't work for native languages, so for our communities, what I really want at the end of the day is the ability to use those methods for ourselves in ways that respect our our data sovereignty, but also allows us to use those methods in ways that everyone else is getting to use it for themselves, right? Like I think ChatGPT can teach you English if you really sat down with it, and it would be pretty good. But you can't ask it to teach you Lakota; it won't work. And honestly, I don't even know if we would want it to work. But there should be a tool built by someone that does that. I talk to a lot of people who want to use it as an educational tool, and so that is an obvious use case, but I think there are many more, and I'm always on the lookout and listening for more possible use cases. I was once a Lakota youth myself. My story is that I was lucky enough, very fortunate enough, had the right doors open for me at the right time when I ended up going to MIT, where I learned how to code and write programs and write Python and all those good things. But it was sort of by accident. I didn't even know when I got there what I wanted to do, and I had never seen a line of code in my life. So for me, it's really important that we provide these students this exposure to these ideas so that they can make an informed choice. I worry a lot that our youth are making decisions about their futures by basically implicitly saying no to things that they've never seen. They just didn't know that was an option for them. So working with Lakota Youth allows me to not only show the students that this thing is out there, but also the fact that I grew up on your reservation. I know what it's like. Our other instructors grew up on reservations. They know what it's like. We all became tech people. We're all fairly confident in being ourselves too, which is a big part of it. And not only can you be in tech if that's what you want, but you can be yourself in tech. So just getting that message out there is much more important to me than maybe the specifics that the students are learning. But the fact that this career, this kind of work is available to them long term, I think is really important for them to know. Yes, I don't know of any other tech camps that do stand-up in Lakota. I don't know of any other code camps, tech camps that are actively bringing the two worlds together. It's very important to us that, people in my generation and older generally had to leave reservations to sort of learn tech stuff. They have to go to some college far away. You might be lucky enough to have somebody who knows something and can teach you, but in general you have to leave. And so for us, it's really important to bring those two together. We're bringing in all those different aspects of Lakota life that I think really make things joyful and fun. And at the same time, you're teaching tech things. I think too often they're separate. And so what's really special about the lakota.aicode.camp is we can bring in that cultural part and we can bring in that technical part, do them at the same time, and say, hey, this makes you, this can be your whole person. You don't have to, separate the two. One of our students the first year, we're kind of asking them at the end, what was your favorite part about camp? And they said, oh, it was awesome to eat 3 times a day. And it's like, man, you start to understand where our students could be coming from. And we do a lot to take that into account, right? We give them the computers so that they could continue working on these things, even if they don't have internet at home, right? But I think you might forget sometimes that maybe some of these students don't have food at home. And so the camp is just a wonderful, magical time where we all make friends and we all learn and challenge ourselves, and I think grow a lot in confidence. That's what I've seen a lot of the students do. It's just fantastic. Code Camp is great.